Y'all, it's hot as fuck out there. However, fear not. If you feel like your sweat glands are single-handedly washing away your summer skincare before you had a chance to really be outside, this your video. Because I'm here to give you the best skincare products to use for your superfluous sweaty ducks. We're gonna go step by step from cleanser to toner to moisturizer to sunscreen. I'm even going to include some body products so that you can feel fresh and look cool for the rest of this hot ass summer. Now, this is a comprehensive video. I'm gonna leave some timestamps, so if you wanna immediately go to a certain part of the video, you can do that. I would highly suggest watching the full video, because lately sometimes I be getting comments where I'm like, you ain't watched the full video, but like, how you gonna comment, try to argue with me, you ain't even watched the full video? And what you arguing with me about, if you would've watched the full video, you would've. Anyway, whatever, as long as you're watching, right, I guess. Let's go. So first up, you're going to need to find a good, gentle cleanser. You want to find something that strikes the balance of being very gentle on the skin, yet substantial enough to wipe away a lot of grime that you get from gallivanting in the summer streets. So I have been using these Olay cleansing melts for at least since April, or at least 2 months before it came to market as part of a campaign. And let me tell you something, I am obsessed. Now, I love this. It feels so amazing on my skin. My skin feels like a baby's bottom after I'm done with it. You can also double cleanse with this, you know, just use another one again after you have used the first one to remove your makeup. I use them every day, but they're also amazing for travel. I used them on a trip to Cabo recently. Then right after that, I went to NOLA for Essence Fest, and I went to Atlanta, then I went to Cincinnati. So these are that girl. So they come in retinol, hyaluronic acid, and vitamin C. The retinol and the hyaluronic acid are both fragrance free. I find those to be the ones that I could use most times of the year, especially in the winter time, but I've been trucking along and using them during the summer as well. The vitamin C ones, I feel like for my skin is pretty much oily, but you know, as it gets colder out, it gets a little bit on the drier side. I feel like the vitamin C is better for me in the summer. Now, my sweaty friends, just because it is summer does not mean that your skin is not going to need hydration. There are many things that occur during the summer that can make the skin dry. You know, indoor air conditioning is one. The sun can kind of make your skin feel a little bit dry too as well, but you want to be able to hydrate without things feeling very heavy. I feel you. This is where something like a hydrating toner, hydrating essence, or a hydrating serum may come into play. My favorites are from SK2, but you know, they're a little pricey, so I will link some more affordable ones in the description box, so check it out. And it'll also be in the YouTube shopping, which it pops up somewhere here. You know, you click on it and all of the products that are available on YouTube shopping will be there, but they'll also be in the description box. Now, your treatment step is going to depend, obviously, of course, on what you're treating with your skin, what your current skincare needs are. Me personally, I use an antioxidant serum, the Skinceuticals CE Feurlic. It's a pretty penny. This is just below $200 for this. However, it does come with some receipts that, you know, the vitamin C in here is good for boosting collagen, and that is stabilized with the use of the vitamin E and the ferulic acid in here. However, you know, it was a study funded by L'Oreal. Skinceuticals is owned by L'Oreal, so you know, they had the money to be able to fund the study, but nonetheless, they got the receipts. However, I probably only got like two or three more uses left out of this. And after that, I'm gonna go and use the Olay Super Serum. They're not identical, they're not dupes. They're just like within the same category, so they're both antioxidant serums. You know what I mean? Now, although some treatment products can tend to be pretty lightweight, if you are using something that you find that is not conducive to your summer lifestyle, maybe try looking at the brand that you're using and see if they have a different type of formulation. So maybe use a serum versus using a cream. If you're using something that was prescribed to you by a dermatologist, a lot of times they work with some of these pharmacies and are able to customize your treatment. So talk to your dermatologist. Maybe there's something that a different vehicle they can put it in, maybe something more lightweight for the summertime. So, you know, just try to exercise your options. Now, my sweat inclined folks out there, at this point in the video, you might be like, yo, D, this is too much, right? To which I would be like, you know, probably, you know, depends. You know, I'm just covering all bases. I'm not saying you have to do all of these things every day, but if you find that you're like, okay, my skin looks a little dull, it feels a little dehydrated, I need hydration, then you would do the hydration step. It's not necessarily something that you need to do every single day. Plus, these are things that are going to be lightweight, they're not gonna be greasy, they're not gonna feel very heavy on the skin, but nonetheless, it's not something that you have to do every day. You know, if you feel like you need a little hydration, get a little hydration. I myself didn't feel like I needed the extra hydration steps in my routine, you know, when I was back in my 30s and younger. However, she's 43 next month, and she's 43, she be needing that extra hydration sometimes. Now, moving on to moisturizer. You need to moisturize your skin even if you have oily skin. But if you have oily skin, you probably don't want something super heavy. It's gonna just feel like too much, you know, then when the oil and the sweat and everything comes along, you're probably gonna be like, ugh, this is so much. This is why they make so many skincare products out there. So moisturizers for my sweaty friends out there, I would probably look at something more of like a gel cream, a jelly moisturizer, because they have the most amazing texture. They feel super lightweight on the skin. They hydrate and moisturize really well, but they feel like nothing on. So it's pretty amazing. And a lot of them feel like you just put it on and it's just like, this feels so good. And if you really trying to do something, you can pop one of them suckers in the refrigerator, take it out. Just don't put it next to the leftover chicken or the sides, cause the smells, you know? So some of my favorite jelly moisturizers include the Belief Aqua Bomb. Peter Thomas Roth also makes a hyaluronic acid. It's got a really long name. It'll be up on the screen, but it'll be also linked in the description. Every product that I mentioned in this video is gonna be linked in the description, but also tagged somewhere here in the YouTube shopping, so you know, you can get it there as well. Neutrogena Hydra Boost is another one that I love. It's also affordable, and they come in different variations for the different skin types. Like if you have oily skin, if you have very dry skin, Hydra Boost is like, okay, I got you, and I got you, and I got you. There's also the Undefined Beauty Hydro Jelly. This is one of the most amazing things. It's a black-owned product. You can get it at Target. I'll link it in the description. It comes in a bottle that's like a serum, and it almost feels like it feels like a serum. You could use it as your serum step, but also if you find it to be sufficient enough for your moisturizer for the day, which, hey, if you've got really oily skin and it's the summertime, you're sweating a lot, that might be very sufficient for you. So I'll link that as well. Now, however, if the next product that I'm about to mention is moisturizing enough on its own, you might not need to use a moisturizer, and we're gonna talk about sunscreen, because y'all already know watching this channel, and if you're new, we wear sunscreen around here because of many reasons. Mostly because the sun exposure can worsen pigmentation. Sun exposure does cumulatively over time does some damaging stuff to the skin. It's responsible for about 89 to 90% the visible signs of aging. There are things that the sun can do to your skin that you can't see with the naked eye, you know, because some people be like, oh, well, my skin is fine. Be like, which eye are you looking at it with? Now you know. However, for my sweat prone beauties, you are going to want to look for water resistant formulas when it comes to sunscreens this summer. Now, let me tell you something. Water resistant does not mean waterproof, okay? I believe in the US. Other countries might be a little bit different, but we're talking about the US of A here. In the US, sunscreens cannot make a waterproof claim, and it's basically because, you know, they go say it's waterproof, and then y'all go out there thinking that the sunscreen is so invincible, and then maybe you might not reapply, you may not apply enough, and you think, you know, blah, 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 blah. So they say water resistant for a certain amount of time. Now, water resistance is timed. Some sunscreens are up to 40 minutes, some are up to 80 minutes. You still want to reapply immediately after getting out of the pool, sweating profusely. So like if you're going hiking, you're doing some intense outdoor activity. A couple of weeks ago, I was out in Cabo zip lining, and man, oh man, oh man, was I like, whoosh. Okay, so after something like that, or other ways in which you get wet, I'm not judging, you are going to reapply your sunscreen immediately. You know, towel off. If you're very sweaty, you might want to, like, if it's possible for you to take like a really quick shower or to cleanse your face, again, that's where these Olay cleansing melts can come in handy, because they're easy to travel. Or get some sort of like body wipe or something if you want to feel like really cool, and dry off, and then put your sunscreen on. Now, when it comes to lightweight, water resistant resistant sunscreens for the summertime. I personally feel like leaning more towards like the Korean and the Japanese sunscreens. There's some American ones that are amazing as well, and I'll talk about a few in a second. And there's also a bunch that I talk about on the channel on the sunscreen playlist, so check that out if you want, like, you know, tea. However, I'm going to talk to you about two that I have recently purchased. I feel like I've tried these maybe before in the past and forgot about it because I've tried a lot of product, but the Biore UV Aqua Rich Aqua Protect Lotion SPF 50 Plus with a PA of 4 pluses. PA denotes UVA protection, so if something has 4 pluses, then it's very high UVA protection, right? But we don't have the PA system here in the US. It's typically, you know, used outside of the US. Anyway, I freaking love this sunscreen. I recently picked this up from, I think the store is called Tezo or Teslo or something like that. It's a chain, I know that for sure, because I've seen them in different parts of New York. But I got this one in particular from Flushing on Roosevelt Avenue. It's kind of like, I can't even call it like an Ulta or a 7-Eleven. It's like the two of them combined, because this particular store, they sell a lot of things. So you'll see skincare, you'll see some makeup items, you'll see snacks, you'll see home items. There's like a bunch of stuff in there. And I didn't even go through the whole store because I went to, I ain't gonna lie to you, I didn't go straight for the sunscreens. I went straight for the chips and then I went to the sunscreens. But anyway, this one is super lightweight, feels like nothing is on. This is a sunscreen that I love for my oily skin in the summer. Now, keep in mind though, if you're somebody with a drier skin type, a lot of these very, very lightweight Korean sunscreens do use alcohol, and not the fatty alcohols. Oh, well, they might have fatty alcohols in them as well, but the alcohol that is used in here can be a little bit drying if you have dry or very sensitive skin, so keep that in mind. What it's used for is to give the sunscreen that very lightweight feel so that it's like, it feels like there's nothing on your skin. As a matter of fact, the alcohol evaporates very quickly once you apply it, but not everything is for everybody, you know what I mean? So you gotta do a little patch test. Well, I wouldn't do a little patch test, I would do a big patch test, especially if you're very sensitive. But if you're someone with drier skin, this Skin Aqua Super Moisture Barrier UV Gel, it's also SPF 50 plus and also has a PA with 4 pluses, also water resistant. This is also very lightweight, but it's a lot more hydrating than this. As a matter of fact, I feel like I probably can't really wear this in the summertime unless like I'm going makeup free and I don't mind being very, 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 very greasy. By the end of the day, if you have very dry skin, this is gonna be your girl. Or if you're like me and you have oily skin, but you also live someplace where it gets kind of cold and dry, you know, in other times of year, then this might be your cold weather sunscreen. These are both chemical/organic sunscreens because some people are allergic to chemical/organic sunscreens. However, the people who are allergic to the American chemical/organic sunscreens do seem to tend to do really great with sunscreens that like the Korean, the Japanese, some of the European sunscreens, because they have newer age filters that we can't use here in the US because FDA just be like, at any rate, some of the issues that people tend to have with American chemical sunscreens, like the stinging of the eyes and the sensitivities and stuff like that, some people don't have those with sunscreens like those. However, patch test first. Anything that you try, anything that is new to your skin, you do a patch test and you slowly introduce it into your routine. However, if you're like, nah, yo, mineral or bust, definitely check out my blog post where I've gone over, I keep a running tab of the better mineral sunscreens. And when I say better mineral sunscreens, you still gotta read the reviews and see what it's about because they're the ones that don't look as crazy cast-wise. So check that out. I'll link it in the description and it'll link you also to video so you can see the full review. Now, the mineral sunscreens though, if you're very active, they are going to tell on you. They are going to tell on you at some point. The water resistant ones will buy you a little bit more time, but you probably gonna have that issue, you know, my sweaty friends, y'all. You probably gonna have that issue where your sweat starts to mix in with the mineral sunscreen, and because the mineral sunscreens have zinc oxide and or titanium dioxide in it to protect you from the sun, and those are white pigments, you might have the white dripping down your face. And once it gets to that point though, you wipe it off, start all over again. Might need to wash your face in between, but these are the breaks. Anyway, let's move on. Actually, no, let's not move on because I forgot to talk about reapplying sunscreen. If my sweat is out there, and I'm not talking about this kind of sweat. By now you know that you know. Anyway, when it comes to the reapplication, you're gonna have to do it. Because if you're someone who's sweating profusely, your sweat over time, and I can't even give you a time frame. They say to reapply every 2 hours, which, you know, I'm sure there's a scientific reason as to why they say every 2 hours. However, like I mentioned earlier, if you're going swimming, if you're sweating profusely, you're gonna wanna reapply immediately. So even if you had your sunscreen on for 20 minutes and you took a dip in the pool and came out, you're gonna need to reapply your sunscreen immediately upon getting out. Immediately. Or if you go, put your sunscreen on, and then you take a 20-minute javelin throw, run through the forest or whatever, and you're sweating profusely, you're gonna need to reapply. Now, if you're wearing makeup and you want to reapply sunscreen over your makeup, keyword here being reapply, because you're gonna make sure you have your base sunscreen on first. There's some options that you could use. There's mineral powder sunscreens that you can put on over your makeup. I've tried a lot of them because I know you guys sometimes don't want to spend too much on, and I feel you, like, let me save my coins and put it in the market to work for me, okay? But I have not found anything that is practical that also looks good on the skin like the Supergoop resetting mineral powder, which is, you know, something you use to reapply sunscreen over your makeup. I really like that one. I use the deep shade because it helps to combat shine, so it's also like retouching my makeup, and it's also kind of topping off the sunscreen. Now, reapply is a key word here because you're gonna want to put on enough of your base sunscreen, because if you try to rely on that powder alone, you're gonna be so sadly mistaken, because there's like unless you plan on taking like a bucket of it and putting it on your face, you'll probably never put on enough for it to mean anything significant other than to reapply. There are also makeup spritz that you can spray over your makeup. Now, bear in mind, not every sunscreen that comes in a misting spray is meant to be reapplied over your makeup, so make sure you check out the labels. But one that I'm really loving right now is from e.l.f. It's called the Sunforgettable something or another that my editor's gonna put a picture of some B-roll up here on the screen for y'all to see, and it'll be linked. I like that one. It's affordable. It's easy enough to carry around. I spray it over my makeup to reapply, but I also, you know, got these braids and parts of my scalp are exposed, so, you know, I spray it there as well. Now, I told you this is a comprehensive video, so, you know, hopefully you're buckled up because there's some good information up in here, and let's talk about exfoliation. Anyway, so exfoliation, especially if you are a sweater or you're somebody who is producing a lot of oil during the summer, you're probably gonna want to make sure that you're exfoliating regularly. However, you don't want to overdo it. A lot of things that we do to our skin, I think I've said this in this video or in other videos already, a lot of things that we do to our skin already count as exfoliation. You know, washing your face with your hands, that's a form of exfoliation. Washing your face with a face towel, definitely that's a form of exfoliation. Obviously, any kind of physical scrubs or any kind of other types of physical exfoliants that you put on your face or your body skin, you know, your loofah, all of that stuff counts as exfoliation, so you don't want to overdo it. 1 to 2 times a week max if you have dry skin, 2 to 3 times a week max if you have oily skin. For exfoliation, I currently use the Sunday Riley Good Jeans. What's amazing about this is you can get some immediate results where you can see a marked difference in the radiance of the skin. However, you do want to use it over time to get the full benefits. Definitely, again, like I had just said before, you don't want to over exfoliate. 1 to 2 times a week if you have dry skin, 2 to 3 times a week if you have oily skin. And bear in mind that a lot of things that you do to your face and your body, we'll be talking about the face now, but also the body, count as exfoliation. Simply rubbing your hands on your face counts as exfoliation. Rubbing a towel across your face, you know, when you're washing your face counts as exfoliation. And then, you know, there's the physical scrubs and things like that that also count as exfoliation, and you definitely don't want to overdo it. And for my acne-prone sweaty besties, look for things that have salicylic acid in it. It's gonna help to go deep into the pore, clear the pore out, to help clear out some of the gunk that can cause acne, which can be on the rise, especially if you're sweating. So check that out. You can get salicylic acid in toners, in cleanser form. I will link to some in the description box, but also look into something like benzoyl peroxide. You could use it as a spot treatment. You could use it as a cleanser. So I'll link that in the description box as well. And also keep in mind here that exfoliants can make your skin more sensitive to the sun, which is why we do the sunscreen. But we also practice safe sun, you know? Stay out of the sun when it's at its highest between 10 and 2. Sun protective clothing, big ass hats, sunscreen. Oh, sunscreen. I already said sunscreen. Sunglasses, you know, and find some shade. Now, here's something that a lot of you might not have thought about. And hear me out because y'all be hating on the makeup sometimes. Just hear me out. Hear me out. Now, my dear sweat buckets, you may also want to consider using a primer and or a makeup setting spray, even when you ain't got a lick of makeup on. I also like to double prime when necessary, you know, like using a more mattifying primer in my T-zone where I tend to get more oily, and then something a little bit more dewy for elsewhere. You know, however, this summer, this hot, sweaty, humid, dirty, stinking summer, I'm just using the mattifying one in my T-zone and, you know, going on with my life. And you ain't gotta be a makeup wearer to wear a primer. Primer is kind of, it's skincare. It's skincare, right? So you can use a primer to help control shine on a bare face, or if you want to add more of like a dewy look on a bare face, you can do that with a primer. So I've tried many, and there are many that I like out there. However, the ones that I'm feeling right now, the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer, the liquid version. I like this because it's mattifying, but not like casket sharp matte. So I get like a gentle mattifying of the T-zone area because I'm not trying to be matte. I just want to be matte, you know, like matte, not matte, you know, it's a difference. NYX also makes a blurring SPF 30 primer that if you put on enough can also double as your sunscreen step. You know, I did find it moisturizing enough to just use that alone, so I didn't have to use a moisturizer underneath it, but you know, we're all different, so you gotta kind of see how things work for your situation and your environment. Makeup sprays can also be beneficial to you, my dear little sweat buckets, because they help with shine and sweat and things that can kind of break down your makeup, but when you're wearing it with a bare face, you can also reap those benefits. So this one by Milk Makeup, this is called the Pore Eclipse Mattifying Setting Spray, but there's also the Bed Nye Final Seal Makeup Spray that, yo, they used to have me in a chokehold. They're products that I have loved, and have used over and over, but you know, because I am a content creator and I need to, you know, switch things up because there's a lot of y'all out there and I need to have, you know, different products to talk about, I had to let it go. But that girl good. Now, bear in mind though, because you know, some things work for some people, some things don't. But bear in mind that these makeup setting sprays, and we're talking about setting sprays, not to be confused with makeup fixer sprays, you know, like the MAC Fix Plus, the kind of sprays that kind of just tone down the powdery look and add some hydration to the skin. They're not actually setting your makeup, you know, there's a distinction. Sometimes you might be a little sensitive to the ingredients in them, especially if you have very dry and or sensitive skin, but you know, not everybody. So you know what we wise folks do on this channel? We do a patch test and we slowly introduce new things into our routine to make sure they don't jack up our skin in the worst way possible. Now let's move on to body. Now for the body, like if your face is already like giving and doing too much, I know you probably about had it with the body. Now, unfortunately, you know, me, myself personally, I can't help y'all with natural deodorants because I don't even, I can't help you there. Plus, not only that, a lot of natural deodorants contain ingredients in them that can be irritating to some people's skin. Some of them have baking soda in it. I know people who have used some of these like natural deodorants and have found that like after a while their underarms become very irritated. They might become even more discolored. You know, some discoloration underneath there is normal because, you know, you gotta walk and, you know, the friction kind of causes some of that discoloration, but you don't want to add more on underneath there unnecessarily. And another reason why I don't really mess with the natural deodorants, besides the fact that we don't see eye to eye really. Now, I've used natural deodorants before, like for instance, Native have some that smell so amazing. I like those, but I don't specifically seek them out. There's a lot of misinformation going out about aluminum in deodorant. There is no evidence that aluminum is linked to cancer. However, the hype is already out there. There's so many people out there who are like, not doing the aluminum, that even brands who know better are making aluminum-free products because they know that if they don't make it, you ain't gonna buy it, and their main, you know, thing is for you to buy it. So my favorite deodorant for the longest time has been the Dove Advanced Care Antiperspirant and Deodorant. I usually get the shea butter formulation. I have tried an aluminum-free deodorant from Secret that was really good. I tried that last year when I was down in Cincinnati for the Cincy Fest. You know, we was doing little influencer activities down there, and I actually put it to the test in hot-ass Cincinnati, being out in the streets, and it worked really, really well. I was impressed. But, you know, I still be trucking with the Dove too, you know? Now, I have been hearing a lot of really good feedback from people who use those like whole body deodorants that have gained popularity recently. I haven't personally tried any of them. If you have experience with these whole body deodorants, you know, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, as we get into this, I just want you to remember that sweating is, you know, obviously natural. It's not something that you should be ashamed about. However, excessive sweating could be a sign of a medical condition, and you definitely want to talk to your doctor about that because we want to make sure that we're healthy, wealthy, and wise, right? But also, you can talk to your doctor and see if your primary care doctor might be knowledgeable in terms of like being able to give you the information and then maybe referring you to a specialist like a dermatologist. But there are certain neuromodulators, of which Botox is one, that can help with excessive sweating. So, you know, make sure you talk to your doctors about that. It could be an option for you. You never know. Talk to your doctors. Now, you might be spending a lot of extra time taking showers because it's just so hot and it's sweaty, and it just feels really good to have a nice shower after being outside and out in Funktown and whatnot, right? However, let me remind you, as I always do in the winter time, but I'm gonna remind y'all in the summertime too, this is not the time for them hell hot showers that y'all like to be taking, okay? No. Okay? Turn the water temperature down. Y'all be dramatic as hell when I tell you to turn the water temperature down because you think I'm telling you to take an ice cold bath, which is not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you have the temperature on hell hot, maybe you might want to consider turning it down to maybe like Florida in the wintertime hot. You know what I'm saying? I don't know which part of Florida. I guess maybe like in the south. I think you know what I mean though, right? Don't put the water temperature up too hot. And you also want to be mindful about your body washes, your cleansers, and that sort of thing that you're putting on your body skin, because you don't want something that's going to dry out your skin, cause any irritation, because you know that irritation, you already know, irritation can lead to inflammation, that can lead to hyperpigmentation, and you know, a lot of body discoloration is natural, but you know, if you don't want to add to it, you know, actually check out this video right here. We can talk all about that right there in this video. Now, some more tips for you sweaty folks out there. Make sure you're wearing some breathable fabrics. Like, I know it's probably cute, but this probably not the time for you to break out the polyester two-piece. I know it look good on you and you've been in the gym and whatnot, but it's probably not time. Probably want to find yourself some cotton, some linen, you know, these type of breathable fabrics, because then when you sweat, it doesn't feel like the sweat is just like accumulating and just sit, like, you know, get a breathable fabric. You also may want to consider using some sort of lubrication in between areas where there's a lot of friction, namely in between the thighs. Oh my God, I remember the first time when I was gearing into like my late teens and going into my early 20s, when, you know, my woman figure started to pop out. And what also popped out was the thighs rubbing up against them, and it was almost like catching a fire, and that is the most painful, uncomfortable thing ever. So some sort of lubrication. You can use your deodorant if you want to, or you can use something like Body Glide. There's also Mega Babe. There's also Chub Rub. There's a bunch of different products out there that help to be able to put some sort of barrier in between the thighs so that the skin's not just rubbing up against each other like that. If you don't want to put a product there, you can use something like bike shorts, or even shapewear will help. You just want something to act as a barrier so that your thighs are not like, you know, not like causing a forest fire. Now we talked about showers, but another tip here is try to shower as soon as possible if you're like a heavy sweater and if you're really, really prone to body acne, because the longer you keep those sweaty clothes on, the more it kind of becomes an environment ripe for, you know, more of the body acne. And maybe facial acne as well too, because, you know, that could also be exacerbated by those conditions. Let me tell you something, I just learned how to do that. I did not know how to do this until I went to a YouTube event at Club Air Missouri. I think it was like a ballroom event, right? And one of the Gen Zs taught me how to flick my fan. But anyway, you need to get you one of these or one of the portable fans that, you know, the battery operated portable fans, or even a misting fan, because, you know, you could put some water in there and then cool yourself off as you're walking around. When we were in NOLA for Essence Fest, my sister had a fan that went around her neck, and she said that that was awesome because it had the two little fans on the side and it was just like whoosh, 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 whoosh. And you know, my analytics do say that a lot of y'all are younger than me, but I do have some people who are, you know, 45 and up. And you know, if you're experiencing your own personal summers, you might want to invest in the fans. You probably already do, but. And I'll link to the various fans, the misting fan and the portable fans and whatnot that I have found along the way. I'll link those in the description box. Now, we briefly kind of itty bitty touched on even body skin tone in this video, you know, by ways of prevention. But if you really trying to get in it, I'm talking about ways to get rid of it, to prevent it, to camouflage it. You want to check out this video right here, because in it, it is a comprehensive guide to more beautiful body skin, but it's also a realistic one because they be lying to y'all out there. Click on this video here and I'll see you there.